All right, so we are here at the battleship North Carolina. But look at the size of this ship. I'm king of the world! Literally right across the way, a filming location, that's the words, from One Tree Hill. So I will. So as we're walking up to what was the filming location for the river court, we see some geese. We see what we're not sure whether they're ravens or crows. We're going to assume that they're ravens because we know what a group of ravens is called, an unkindness, because this is the spot of the river court from One Tree Hill. We were actually talking with some of the people that work in the thing back there because literally the ship is directly behind here. That's how close we are to this spot. But we were talking with them and they were talking about we were saying that the last time we were here, none of this was paved. But in the last 2 years, they've raised it up, paved it and everything because this is kind of a flood zone here. But oh, that's all like swampy over there. The ironic part is they were here and they filmed a lot, but they never once showed the ship, even though it's the state that the show takes place in and whatever, because of course they didn't want to say that the ship was in Tree Hill, because the ship isn't in Tree Hill, because Wilmington isn't Tree Hill. This is all like swampy area that I'm stepping in right here. Don't necessarily want that. I'm wondering what that monument over there is though. But this right here is where they built the river court for One Tree Hill. They played many a basketball game here in the show. If you're familiar with the show, you're very aware of where we are and what the significance of this spot is to the show. So a lot of people don't necessarily know this about me. Most people know I'm a big fan of Lost, a big fan of Buffy, Vampire Diaries, all that sort of stuff. But One Tree Hill is what I always consider to be my first show. And what I mean by that is, hold on, before I tell you that, let's see what this memorial is. Submarine veterans. There's another plaque memorial over here. And I'm sure if we went into this spot here, there's probably all sorts of carvings and writings and everything else for One Tree Hill. But let's see. This is in memory. Let's get a clear shot of it there. Just so I can get the, let's do that camera. In memory of members of the U.S. military forces killed in action during the attack on Oahu, Hawaii, December 7th, 1941, North Carolina, Chapter Number 1, Pearl Harbor Survivors Association. Remember Pearl Harbor, keep America alert. This was dedicated November 11th, 1988. So what I mean when I say that One Tree Hill was my first show, because up until that point, there was a lot of shows that I watched that were I really like being the girl behind the red door. This show matters. It's what got us here. Yeah, I knew there would be all sorts of, when all my dreams come true, the one I want next to me, it's you. I knew there would be all sorts of Tree Hill related things. Nathan is GOAT, Always and Forever. Yeah. One Tree Hill here. Let's get a good proper shot of this. This is, I mean, it's a lot of graffiti, but it's a lovely tribute to this show. Peyton is the best character. I'll die on that. One Tree Hill. That's funny. A lot more. It's about finding the magic in unexpected places. Quinn James, One Tree Hill Forever. But just like a lot of these people who wrote a lot of this stuff, the show meant so much to me because what it was a show. It was my first show, and what I mean by that is many other shows that I watched at the time were shows that I watched with my parents, with cousins, friends, a couple things that I guess I kind of watched on my own, but nothing that really like resonated with me, nothing that really stuck with me. But One Tree Hill came on at a time when I was a little younger than what the characters were supposed to be, a lot younger than what the actors were, but a little younger than what the characters were supposed to be. And it was high school melodrama. And I grew up watching Beverly Hills 90210 with one of my cousins. And so, I watched soap operas and, things like that. But the teenage melodrama, and there was the characters that I wanted to be, and the characters that reminded me of people that I went to school with, or the fact that I wished my school was more like that, or, whatever the case may be. And it was, just like many other shows, it was an idealized version of certain things, and maybe not an idealized version, I suppose, but, it was a show that I watched. No one else that I knew watched it. I eventually found out some other friends watched it. I think one of my aunts watched it at the time as well. But it was a show that was just mine. It was my first show. It was the first show that I started looking up things about the actors, the location, how was this show filmed. And I had been interested in the idea of how television worked and things like that beforehand, but this show gave me a reason to be more interested. How long beforehand? What spoilers could I find? Which, if you know me now, not so big on that. What interviews, what behind the scenes details could I find out? And it led me down a path very much to be who I am in terms of how I look at things, how I associate things. Hey everybody, Future Paul here. I didn't know it at the time. I probably should have. Mom was taking pictures of me while I was recording that, walking back from that pavilion. So I'm inserting them now before I continue on talking about One Tree Hill and the impact that it had on me. And how I just view television, cinema, writing. One of the first things I remember, not one of the first things I remember writing, but I remember hearing that one of the things to get into film or to try to, be in the TV business was you write something for a show that already exists. So I tried writing, I only got about 3 pages in, but I tried writing a One Tree Hill episode. And that was one of the first times I remember writing something that wasn't my characters. I was never big into fanfic or anything like that. And it was just a very special moment in time for me. And I've since been able to share the show with my mother, with some friends, and I've tried to encourage some other people to watch it as well, because I think that if you can get past the high school melodrama and whatever else, I think it's a very well produced, well acted show. You got to look at it, of course, through the lens of it was, you know, the early to mid 2000s and, you know, all that sort of stuff. But overall, it was a great show. It was a great moment in time. And there's only one Tree Hill, and it is your home. As you see, we finished up by taking some pictures around the area. We got one or two final pictures with the battleship sign, because this was all the same time, and then we went back to our hotel. So it looks like right now we're gonna see what the deal is with the pool, because despite being at the pool at the other places, I never went into the pool. And so we're gonna check out this one, maybe go for a little night swim, and then hang out, get some food. That's gonna be the end of our night here. Should be nice and casual. Unless somebody does something crazy at the pool like they did in the other place. Probably make that last one for me. Went to the pool, had a really great time. I'm well over 6 feet. The pool was only 5 feet. Mom claimed it was a little more, a little less, so I made her take this with her feet flat at the bottom. Hilarious.